The first thing they teach you in the Terran Colonial Defense Force is never to drop your weapon. Not in fear, not in confusion, not even in mercy. A weapon in your hand is certainty. A weapon on the ground is doubt. I broke that rule on my 32nd day beyond Earth orbit. The corridor aboard the alien vessel smelled like ozone and something metallic sweet that burned the back of my throat. Emergency lights pulsed along the curved walls, painting everything in alternating shades of red and shadow. My boots stuck slightly to the deck, as if the floor itself resented my presence. I was alone. Or at least, that's what the motion tracker on my forearm insisted. The mission had gone wrong 12 minutes after boarding. That was 12 minutes longer than Command predicted we'd last. The cartel, that was the name we'd intercepted from their transmissions, wasn't just a scouting ship. It was a mobile command vessel, filled with technology decades beyond ours and a crew that treated human resistance like a curious inconvenience. My squad had been wiped out room by room. Sergeant Hovell died, sealing a blast door to give me time to escape. Corporal Nguyen took a plasma bolt meant for me and never even screamed. Lieutenant Arcos vanished into a containment chamber that collapsed in on itself like a dying star. I ran. Not bravely. Not heroically. I ran because survival training is honest about one thing. Dead soldiers don't finish missions. Now I stood in the ship's inner sanctum, a chamber so vast it made the human mind uncomfortable. The ceiling arched high above like the inside of a cathedral, lined with floating glyphs that shifted and rearranged themselves as if thinking. At the center rose a circular platform, smooth and dark, surrounded by rings of faintly glowing energy. And standing on that platform was her. She was taller than me by a head, her posture impossibly straight, as if gravity itself deferred to her will. Her skin was a deep, iridescent blue that caught the emergency lights and reflected them in subtle waves. Long, white-silver hair flowed down her back, bound at the crown with a metallic circlet etched in alien script. Her eyes were nothing like ours, larger, luminous, with pupils that shifted shape as they focused on me. She wore no visible armor, only layered robes that shimmered with embedded technology. Power hummed around her, not loudly, but with the quiet confidence of something that knew it did not need to shout. I recognized her instantly from the intel briefings. A Valori. Not just any Valori. A high envoy. Second only to their ruling matriarch. My rifle rose on instinct, hand steady despite the pounding of my heart. The weapon's targeting system locked onto her chest, projecting a red reticle that hovered over the center of her torso. She did not move, did not flinch, did not reach for a weapon. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, studying me with open curiosity, as though I were a strange artifact rather than an armed enemy who had slaughtered her crew. So, she said, her voice smooth and resonant, perfectly translated through the implant behind my ear. The human finally arrives. My finger tightened on the trigger. This ends now, I said, forcing steel into my voice. Call off your fleet, or I pull this trigger. She smiled, not mockingly, not cruelly, genuinely. You believe yourself capable of killing me, she said. That is admirable. The targeting system beeped a warning. Energy readings exceeding safe discharge thresholds. She was generating a defensive field, subtle, invisible, but strong enough that my rifle's AI didn't like my odds. I've killed worse than you, I said. That, she replied softly, is where you are wrong. She lifted one hand. The air around me thickened. Gravity twisted, pressing down on my shoulders like an invisible weight. My knees buckled, boots screeching against the deck as I fought to remain standing. Warning icons exploded across my visor as my suit struggled to compensate. "Do you know how many species have stood where you stand?" she asked. "How many have pointed weapons at me, convinced their fear was courage?" I gritted my teeth, forcing myself upright inch by inch. "No," I growled. "But I know how many are going to die if you don't stop this war." Her expression changed then, just slightly. "War," she echoed. "Human, this is not war. This is correction." I fired. The rifle screamed as a bolt of compressed plasma tore across the chamber and slammed into the space in front of her. Light exploded outward, heat washing over my faceplate. When my vision cleared, she was still standing. The bolt had dissipated against an unseen barrier, leaving nothing but rippling air. The gravity intensified. My rifle slipped from my hands. It hit the deck with a hollow clang. The sound echoed through the chamber, loud and final. I expected her to strike me down then, to crush me into the floor or disintegrate me with a thought. Instead, she froze. Her eyes dropped to the weapon at my feet, then back to me. The gravity vanished. I collapsed to one knee, gasping, palms pressed against the deck as I sucked in air like a drowning man. "Why?" she asked slowly. "Did you drop your weapon?" I laughed weakly, the sound half hysterical. "Didn't drop it," I said. "Lost my grip." Her gaze sharpened. "That is not what I ask." I looked up at her, meeting those luminous eyes. "Because," I said, voice hoarse, "it wasn't doing anything anyway." Silence stretched between us. The emergency lights pulsed. Something shifted in her expression, confusion, layered with something else I couldn't quite name. "You humans," she said quietly, "continue to defy expectation." I pushed myself to my feet, hands raised, empty. "You could have killed me already," I said. "So, why haven't you?" She studied me for a long moment. "Because," she said at last, "you are the first human to enter this chamber alone." "Lucky me." "You are the first to fire," she continued, "and then cease aggression without being commanded." I ran out of options. "No," she corrected. "You chose vulnerability." I shook my head. "Don't dress it up," I said. "I'm just tired of watching my people die." That did it. The smile vanished completely. Her posture stiffened, and the air around us hummed with restrained power. "Your people die," she said, "because they resist inevitability." "Your inevitability," I shot back. Funny how that always seems to favor the ones holding the bigger guns. Her eyes narrowed. "Our expansion brings order, stability, prosperity." "To you?" I said. "You ever ask what it brings to the worlds you correct?" She did not answer immediately. Instead, she stepped off the platform. Each step echoed softly as she approached me, unarmed, unafraid. Every instinct screamed at me to back away, to retrieve my rifle, to do something. I stood my ground. She stopped an arm's length away. Up close, I could see the fine patterns etched into her skin, bioluminescent markings that pulsed faintly with her heartbeat. "Do you know why humans are feared?" she asked. I snorted. "Last I checked, we're the ones getting steamrolled." "You are feared," she said, "because you refuse to behave as prey." I frowned. "Every species we have encountered," she continued, "falls into patterns. Submission, desperation, rage. Predictable." She gestured toward my discarded rifle. "But you," she said, "stand before a superior force, having lost everything, and you let go." "Didn't feel like fear," I said quietly. "What did it feel like?" I thought of Hovell's final grin, of Nguyen's laugh over bad coffee, of Arco's promising drinks planetside. "It felt," I said, "like enough." Her breath caught. "Just barely." "You are willing to die," she said. Yeah, I replied. But I'm not willing to keep killing for nothing. The chamber seemed to hold its breath. Slowly, deliberately, she lowered herself to one knee. My heart slammed against my ribs. What the hell are you doing? I whispered.
Reassessing, she said.
She placed one long-fingered hand against the deck, mirroring my earlier posture. I was sent to determine why humanity continues to resist, she said. Why you fight wars you cannot win. And her gaze locked onto mine. Because you believe surrender is a greater death. I swallowed. That's pretty close. She rose, straightening her robes. The matriarch will not like my report, she said calmly. I'm guessing she doesn't like much. A hint of amusement returned. No, she agreed. But she values truth. She turned, gesturing toward the weapon. Pick it up. I hesitated. Why? Because, she said, this conversation does not end here, and others will not be as restrained as I am. I bent and retrieved the rifle, slinging it over my shoulder, but I did not raise it. What happens now? I asked. She looked back at me, eyes alight with something new. Now, she said, you return to your people. And the fleet.
She paused.
Standby orders will be issued, she said carefully. Temporarily. I exhaled shakily. That's it. For now. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You have shown me something rare, human. What's that? That strength, she said, is not always found in the hand that holds the weapon, but in the one that knows when to release it. I met her gaze. Don't make me regret it, I said. Her smile was small, but sincere. I believe, she replied, that history will remember this moment. Alarms suddenly blared, different from before, sharper, urgent. She stiffened. Your extraction window is opening, she said. Go. I backed toward the corridor, never taking my eyes off her. Envoy, I said. Yes. You stopped a war today. She tilted her head. No, she said softly. You did. The corridor doors sealed behind me as the ship shuttered, my extraction beacon activating with a familiar hum. As the light swallowed me and pulled me back toward human space, I thought about the weapon in my hands, about the moment I let it fall, and I realized something that no training manual had ever taught me. Sometimes, the most powerful move a human can make is choosing not to pull the trigger. I woke up in a Terran medical bay with recycled air in my lungs and gravity that felt comfortingly wrong after the Valori ship. The ceiling panels were scratched, one flickering faintly, and the smell of antiseptic mixed with burnt circuitry told me I was back among my own kind. A nurse noticed my eyes open and shouted for a doctor. Within minutes, the room filled with uniforms. Admirals. Intelligence officers. People who didn't smile easily. They asked me the same questions over and over again. Did you sabotage their systems? Did you steal data? Did you encounter their command structure? When I told them the truth, that I had dropped my weapon and talked, most of them stared at me like I was delirious. You're telling us, one admiral said slowly, that a Valori high envoy let you walk away because you impressed her? She didn't let me, I replied. She chose not to stop me. That distinction mattered. It took 3 days for the consequences to arrive. The Valori fleet, poised on the edge of human space, powered down its weapons. No advance. No retreat. Just waiting. For the first time since first contact, the stars went quiet. Diplomatic channels opened where there had only ever been threats. The Valori demanded talks, not surrender, not tribute, but dialogue. They wanted to understand the species that had stood before annihilation and chosen something other than fear. I was summoned to Earth, not as a soldier, as a witness. They put me in a chamber of glass and steel, facing a projection so vast it wrapped around the room. When the image resolved, she was there, the High Envoy, standing once more with impossible calm. Her eyes met mine through light years of distance. "Human," she said, addressing not just me but the leaders behind me, "you asked what our expansion brings." The room held its breath. "It brings order," she continued. "But order without consent is merely tyranny with better language." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. She inclined her head toward me. "This one showed me that humanity's greatest weapon is not its armies," she said. "It is its refusal to accept a future decided without its voice." The matriarch never apologized. Empires rarely do. But borders were redrawn. Occupations halted. The word correction quietly vanished from Valori doctrine. As for me, I never returned to frontline combat. They offered medals, promotions, a desk. I declined most of it. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that moment, the hollow clang of my rifle hitting the deck, the way the universe seemed to pause and wait. History books will argue about treaties and fleets and politics. But I know the truth. The war didn't stop because humanity won. It stopped because, for one brief moment, an enemy expected violence. And a human chose to let go.